2-minute warning. 2-minute warning. America Free Radio will be live in 1 minute.
President Trump could be heading back to the White House tomorrow. I'm Ann Carrick, Fox News. The president's doctors say he can be released if his condition keeps improving.
The president's medical team expressing optimism about his treatment over the course of this weekend. Here's the timeline of understand them. The president receiving a second dose of the drug remdesivir Saturday evening. President did have an episode where his oxygen level dropped to around 93%. In response to levels, the president has received his first dose of dexamethasone. The plan is to continue dexamethasone for the time being. That is a steroid designed to help a patient's breathing. It has been used for COVID patients, some with quite severe illness.
Fox's Mike Emanuel. As President Trump is treated for COVID-19, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is getting back on the campaign trail.
Biden's campaign called a lid just after 9 o'clock this morning. He's having a down day ahead of a trip to Florida tomorrow where he will address undecided voters in a town hall. Now, Biden said yesterday he would get a coronavirus test today ahead of that trip, and we are still waiting for those results to come out. Biden's campaign committed to releasing every test result after Biden was exposed on the debate stage with President Trump. A new protocol beyond the previous promise to regularly test both candidates and report a positive result.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich. In New York City, a bit of a step back with new proposed closures from Mayor Bill de Blasio.
We will be moving to close schools. By that, I mean starting Wednesday morning, public and non-public schools. This is the strategy that worked for us in the spring and summer, which is limiting activity in a community to stop the spread.
If the efforts prove successful, schools and non-essential businesses in the 9 zip codes should reopen after 2 weeks. If not, they could be closed for 4 weeks. America's listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years,
your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
And greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is where the past meets the future. In here, the results are always positive. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us. We are streaming live on the Truth Frequency Radio Network. This is where the Truth Freaks hang out. We are not afraid to let our Truth Freak flag fly. We are also streaming live on YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, which is Twitter, Facebook, and DLive. And we want you to join us. We're also on YouTube Live. I should be monitoring all of the chats from all of those platforms. So greetings, Susie's out there, Byron's out there, Diane's out there, Eric, good to see you again. Yes. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that tonight. I have decided to, well, first of all, let me get my Religion of Peace report out of the way. The last 7 days, the Religion of Peace conducted 40 attacks just in the last 7 days. In these attacks, they killed 144 innocent people. They injured 109 innocent people. They conducted 5 suicide blasts and spread their mayhem across 12 countries. All of this from the Religion of Peace. Now, what you're about to hear tonight, we're going to start out with a little bit of space news because we have to keep the bots off our back here. Artemis program has had some recent compromises, and I think these are pretty important. A NASA safety committee warned that the effort to return humans to the moon by 2024, which we're all for that, coupled with certain funding that's not been really reliable, it could lead to engineering compromises in the Artemis program. Now, you know, when it comes to putting humans in space, the last thing that you want to hear is engineering compromises. 3 days ago, a meeting of the Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel, it also goes by the acronym ASAP, which could mean a lot of other things. Members of this group said that real physical risks could emerge as NASA presses ahead with the Artemis program without certainty about the funding that will be available to it. Now, a lot of these things have cost overruns, Earth Explorers, and the reason they do is because every single thing, every gusset, every wire connector, every container, every resistor, every capacitor has to go through multiple tests at multiple temperatures. 0 degrees Kelvin, if it can get there, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, just all kinds of tests, vibration, drop tests, vacuum tests. And if it fails any of those tests, they have to figure out why. They do what's called a failure mode effects analysis, what we call a PFEMA, process FEMA, and also a design FEMA. And this is where a team of experts sit down and they rank several areas that have a mathematical value. One of them is the severity of the failure. Is it going to kill everybody? Can it be rebuilt? Is it a safety thing? Is it an environmental thing? It has a numerical value associated with that. The next is the occurrence. How often does this happen? How often have we seen it? How many times has it failed the test out of 100? How many times did it fail? What is the occurrence? And the last one is detection. Detection means, do we have a sensor on it? Do we have a strain gauge? Do we have a digital camera watching it? Was it inspected by one person, 2 people, 5 people? What was the method by which it was detected or measured? Well, you take the numerical value of these. Each one is 1 through 10, 10 being the worst, and 1 being the best. And you multiply the 3 numbers together. So you get a number somewhere between 1 and 1,000, okay? In our business, anything over 200, we have to put a corrective action plan in place. We have to put a vision system. We have to put a poka-yoke. A poka-yoke means a special fixture so that you can't put it together backwards. A red light, green light kind of thing. A laser interferometer to measure distance to make sure that a gasket is under the head before you start the engine, right? Those kinds of things. And once you put that poka-yoke in place, then it prevents you from doing it wrong. There are all kinds of corrective actions that can be put in place to lower the risk. You can never actually get it to zero. It's just one of those things, like you can't get 100 on an exam or a lab notebook. It's one of those things that we strive for perfection as close as we can. Of course, what makes the big difference is funding. If you run out of money, you run out of testing. If you run out of money, you run out of corrective action. That's why I've had a career for 32 years working with the Fortune 500, because they do it wrong. They run out of money. They shortchange the quality process. And what happens is we end up with cars that have a recalled ignition switch. We have, refrigerators that frost up. We have all kinds of things that fail in the field because somebody didn't look at that part, didn't make a system or process or redesign that part altogether so that failure would not happen. Well, that simply just cannot happen in this space industry. You can't have a mistake when there's no air outside the window. There's no source of heat outside the window. You understand what I'm saying? So the panel has an ongoing concern with each continuing resolution. A continuing resolution is, well, we don't have enough money to make our credit card payment this month, but I'll tell you what we can do. We can put that payment on the back end of the loan, so we don't have to make a payment this month, and we could just carry it over, to next month. That's a continuing resolution. It means you're just borrowing more off the credit card to keep the system going. Okay? You're going to make payroll by getting out the Visa checks. How many of us in business have done that? Hell yeah, we've done it. Of course you have. So this just increases the pressures to make engineering compromises in order to stay on schedule. And this is where it gets dangerous. That pressure is only going to go up as launches in 2024 come closer. Either that, or we push it back to 2025, 2026, 2027. Guess what happens in 2025? That's right, a new president. A new president. We don't know if it's going to be a Trump. We don't know if it's going to be Pence. We don't know who it's going to be. It could be a Democrat. And if that happens, all the money, every bit of work that has been put into the Artemis program ends right up in somebody else's purse. Right on. So Paul Hill is a member of the committee, and he noted that the issue was not something directly in NASA's control, but instead it was a weakness of the current federal budgeting environment. In other words, the deep state. This is the way money is portioned out. NASA is just an administration. They don't invent nothing. They don't fly nothing. They make great hats. They make great shirts. They have the name, but they don't do anything. They just administrate. Okay? All kinds of companies, all kinds of contractors, all kinds of other engineers in the Department of Energy and other areas, JPL, Raytheon, Grumman, Boeing, all these, now it's SpaceX and others. They're the ones doing the work. They're the ones building the stuff. But they don't do it for free. They don't do it for free. The ASAP meeting took place on the first day of the fiscal year of 2021, which in most years in recent memory, starting with the continuing resolution, President Donald Trump signed a continuing resolution shortly after midnight on October 1st, which was 3 days ago. That maintains funding for the federal government at fiscal year 2020 levels through December 11th, which is like 20 minutes from now, right? At a September 30th hearing, Senator Roger Wicker, who's a Republican from Mississippi, he's the chairman of the Senate Commerce Committee, discussed the continuing resolution and its effects on NASA. Here's what he said. That's never ideal. Well, no kidding. So he asked Jim Bridenstine, as you know, he's the NASA administrator, the sole witness at the hearing, by the way. No one else came. COVID and all that crap. Asked him about NASA's programs and what the effects of a longer continuing resolution would be. And Bridenstine pointed to the Human Landing System. We call it the HLS. We love our acronyms, don't we? We just feel so special that we can go to the Denny's and we can talk about the HLS and the waitress doesn't know what we're talking about. Unless, of course, they listen to this program. Anyway, it's a program for which NASA requested more than $3.2 billion in fiscal year 2021. $3.2 billion. That's about BLM's budget. Yeah, that's about how much it cost to burn the country down. $3.2 billion. Anyway, it's a spending bill that passed the House. It provided only about $600 million for it, while the Senate has yet to take up its version of that bill. He said current funding for the HLS program covers the base period of awards made in April to Blue Origin, to Dynetics, SpaceX, which go through February of 2021. Between now and February of 2021, I think we're okay, he said. But if we get to our February 2021 without more money, without another appropriation, that's going to really put the brakes on our ability to achieve a moon landing by as early as 2024. The sooner we get the appropriations, the higher the probability of success to the moon landing as soon as 2024. I used to have this discussion all the time with one of the major car makers. I won't say a name. They would say, well, give us a date. Give us a date when this will be done. How long will this take? And I will say, well, the project takes 2,121 man hours. And they would look around the room like, what day will it be done? It's 2,000. Okay, it's 2,000, whatever, 21 man hours. That's how many man hours it takes. Now, if you give me one man, you're looking at a year. Give me two, it's 6 months. You give me four, I can have it done in 3 months. You understand what I'm talking about here. If you cut that budget, if you cut those hours, just tell me which wall you want to do away with. You want to do away with this wall? You want to have 3 tires instead of 4? You want to have this gone, that gone? Tell me what you want cut out of the program, and I will happily cut it out. That's how many man hours it takes. Give me the budget. Simple as that. Well, it's not quite so simple because I didn't always win. But at the ASAP meeting, the panel's concerns went beyond appropriations, wouldn't they? Because you know politics is always involved when it comes to space, right? Everybody saw The Expanse. We know all about the politics of space. Yes, that's my Death Star ice floating in my ice-cold orange juice. So Hill praised NASA for incorporating lessons learned from the investigation into the uncrewed test flight of the CST-100 Starliner, which is it was empty, but they test flew it and had all kinds of sensors on board to make sure that the astronauts could not get overexposed to radiation as they go through the Van Allen belts. It did suffer some software-related problems, so they learned lessons. They don't want to do that with people on board. And the ESD has added more integrated software tests for the SLS and is evaluating more Orion test cases as a result. Orion was also sent up with a bunch of sensors on board, and they learned a lot there. However, that's just the scientific stuff. You see, the panel, the political panel, criticized NASA for not having a fully integrated test capability for SLS/Orion. The panel has great concern. I always love that word, concern. I wish I could take concern and shove it. It's incredible. Great concern about the end-to-end integrated test capabilities and plans, especially for flight software. NASA plans to test subsets of software and avionics systems in separate labs. That just basically means we're going to look at 1 million lines of code instead of 500 million lines of code. We're going to break it apart into subsets. And this is good in a sense, because you can go through a big program very quickly. You guys go over these lines of code. You guys go over these lines of code. We're looking for dead ends. We're looking for loops. We're looking for counters that don't work. We're looking for memory that gets overwritten, those kinds of things. It is good for going through that kind of software, and sometimes we do that to get back into production. The issue is this. Once that system is up and running, like let's say it's something that has, 5 PLCs on it, and those PLCs are switched and coordinated with one main computer. Everything goes well until you start ramping production up and you start pushing the limits of the equipment, which often happens in space. I can't give it any more, Captain. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And what happens is the guy that troubleshot that section of code, he ain't up there in space. You have a systems guy, but he didn't write that system. He didn't write that segment of code. And often what happens is what we call stitch points. These are where this piece of code gets stitched to that piece of code. The stitch points become weaknesses in the software. Now, you can audit all day long, but the way these things are compartmentalized, one guy doesn't learn all the software. It is a security thing, but it's also a manpower thing. One brain cannot run that whole piece of software. You just can't do it. It takes 300, 400 programmers working together to put together pieces, and they have protocols for writing those pieces. You know what I'm talking about. But you also know sometimes your transmission doesn't shift right. Sometimes your throttle has to be reprogrammed. And God forbid you have a dual clutch system in your automatic in a Ford. Wow, that thing shifts like a road wagon sometimes. And you have to take it in. Why? Because you have to have the software normalized. All of the lessons learned from all the other transmissions around the country, they're saved in a Ford database. You can go in, plug in your car, and it will normalize your transmission. It'll make it shift like all the other transmissions. Why does it do that? Because of those lines of code. Now, while NASA has stressed accountability in its overall test program, Hill said the committee felt that it was not enough. The ASAP recommends, although, that in addition to accountability, ESD ensures that their management and test processes and practices are aligned to test like you fly. Test like you fly. Okay? It's easy to fail when you're in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It's not good to fail when you're in orbit around the moon. Just ask the Indians who just tried to land a rover on the moon. Kersplat. Patricia Saunders, chair of the panel, noted that NASA's recent reorganization of the Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate created an Office for Systems Engineering and Integration. They didn't call me. They didn't call me. What's up? However, she said the office was, at least for now, focused on studying overall exploration mission architectures. Good. The NASA directorate responsible for human spaceflight efforts has completed a long-anticipated internal reorganization intended to better align activities ranging from the International Space Station to Artemis. And Artemis is the main goal, okay? Artemis is landing on the moon. Artemis is putting men on the moon to build a structure, which I still think should be in a volcanic vent. Please, people, give me a call. Please. I got it. All right? At a September 16th Washington Space Business Roundtable webinar, Kathy Loiters. Seen Kathy Loiters? Tell you, NASA's in very good shape. Who took over as NASA Associate Administrator for Human Exploration and Operations 3 months ago, said that NASA Associate Administrator Steve Jurczyk, it's Czech, okay? CZYK, okay? Formally approved a reorganization of her mission directorate the previous day. It is a very necessary function, but the same as true technical engineering integration, she said. The panel clearly has a persistent interest in integration, which will only become more challenging with the addition of the added complexity of future missions. Absolutely it will. Absolutely. But I highly recommend integration. This is the way we learn. It's the way that we accelerate things and everything stays coordinated. One plug fits another program. One fuel tank can be used here and can be used there. One piece of software, one window, one seat. Everything can be cross-utilized. That's called integration. Okay? It's like General Motors. General Motors. You know, General Motors bought 27 car companies? Yeah, bought 27 car companies. You know why? Because General Motors said, let's not invent 27 engines and 27 transmissions and 27 brake systems and 27 steering columns. Let's have one or two, and we will integrate the power plants throughout the car companies. That's where General Motors came from. That's why the 350 V8 is a standard power plant from Buick all the way to GMC. That's called integration, people. It's smart. It's a good thing because it puts the people in place to make the program actually happen. But this election, it's about socialism versus capitalism, in case you haven't heard. There is zero chance the Democrats will support humans in space if they win. None. It ain't happening. Green New Deals, Medicare for all, forgiveness of student debt, free everything for anyone that enters the U.S. legally or illegally. Remember, socialism is just the fuzzy dice on the communist tanks. The first people to be lined up and shot a few days after the socialists win the election are the socialists. Then you will see how quickly Artemis becomes the bonus plan for the CCP. Absolutely correct. By the way, a couple quick things here. In my notes, and I'm going to put it in the description right down here. A few days ago, the Air Force added a web page for Space Force. And they are asking for job applicants. Oh, yeah. You don't have to join the military to be part of this. Okay? So I'm going to put this link down here in the description in the YouTube. And I'm also going to put it in my notes. So if you go to my website, americafreeradio.com, and you click on the notes button right there. It's right there on the front page, right on your phone. Click on that. You can access this and send in your information. Okay? Come on. This is the future of employment right here. I'm telling you. Also on the front page, and I want you to pay particular attention to this. You could do it while you're listening, actually. Go to my website, americafreeradio.com, right on the front page. Do it on your phone while you're listening with your other device. Do it right now. Right on the front page, there's a red, white, and blue button. You know what that button is? That button is for you. It's for you to know where and when to vote. And if you're not registered, guess what? You could do it right there, right there. Find your state, register, get your absentee ballot, or go in person and vote, and you're done. Do you know that in a lot of states, the last day for registration for voting is tomorrow? Is tomorrow. Not all states have same-day registration. Don't miss the opportunity, okay? The button's right there on the front page. You want me to? You want me to? Okay, hang on one second here. I'll do it. I'll do it for you because you asked me to, okay? Hang on a second. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. What I did is I put it in on my browser. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to show you my shared screen, okay? This is my website right here. Now watch this. Watch this. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. Look at there. There's the red, white, and blue button. If I click that button right there, guess what? Boom. Right there. Early voting by state. All the states are in alphabetical order. I graduated first in my class alphabetically. You can click on your state and you can find out. Look at Louisiana, 14 days before the election. Early polls close 7 days before the election. Your state's right there. Go do it. We'll be right back after this.
Discover the extraordinary powers of intuitive healing with pain transmutation, a method of holistic healing for the human soul, body, mind, and emotions. If you are looking for answers and deep understanding of how to help yourself and the people around you to live a happier, healthier life, this is the right place for you. Learn how to read your soul's history in the Akashic Records. Remove negative energy attachments from your astral body and start the process of inner and outer pain transmutation. Join Pain Transmutation Community to get started on the path of intuitive healing. Change your energetic state. Manifest new and exciting experiences. Re-energize your life and build inspiring connections with others in our community.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find us on Amazon or go to faststart.com and use promo code POWER to get $10 off your first box. As a special bonus, we will include our #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. Whatever your diet plans are, start with us at faststartdiet.com and use promo code POWER.
Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death. This is Uncle Walt from the Ironworks. Josh, Corey, and I have chosen to look at life with no fear. No fear of the unknown. No fear of questions about the supposedly well-known. No fear of ridicule for thinking outside the familiar fool's lines. No fear of the boot on the neck of those refusing the party line. No fear of taking on those so convinced of their beliefs they would sooner drink the Kool-Aid than believe they've been fools made. In this world filled with me too, cattle think, can truth's protective layers be peeled back to show the tender, juicy pink? Are we all just grist for the mill? Sold against our soul against all, or is that just how it feels? When you're filled to the rim with triviality so fear-filled and grim, break clear of the fear right here. Tuesdays and Fridays at 2 a.m. on TFR. Josh and I and you will hammer out the impurities of technology-driven groupthink, fold in a dash of logic, and quench it all with a bit of absurdity. The Ironworks. Break clear of the fear.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Frequency Radio.
All right, welcome back to X Squared Radio, America Free Radio, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. As I said, we are streaming live through the Truth Frequency Radio Network, where the Truth Freaks hang out, and we are not afraid to let our Truth Freak flag fly. We're also streaming live on Twitch and Periscope and Facebook Live and D Live and YouTube. So it's awesome. 6 different platforms all at the same time. If you know anybody you'd like to use those platforms, please go watch us on that platform because we need to bump the numbers up. Okay? And don't forget to hit the like button. Lots of you are in there. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, Diane, good to see you out there. Byron, Colleen from Palm Springs. Awesome. Guess what? We're going to be in Palm Springs, Indian Wells. That's right. June 4th through 7th, 2021. Contact in the Desert. Why do I put this up here now? Changes, people, changes. The organizers are now limiting the number of people that can come. Before, they just sold tickets until the place was busting at the seams. Last year, we had 8,000 people there. That's about right. So they're going to cap it at 8,000 people, the biggest UFO conference on the planet. And they're capping it at 8,000. So I'm putting it up here now because Christmas is coming up. And what would be a better gift to give yourself and a couple friends than to come and see us at Contact in the Desert? If you've never been, you have to go. You have to go. It's 3.5 days of absolute, not pandemonium, so much information. The best speakers in the world are there. Leading edge stuff. This is going to be off the charts as far as UFO disclosure stuff goes. You're really, really going to enjoy it. So, Colleen, that's a must. You have to come see us. Agatha, good to see you out there. And she says, and all you beautiful ladies and gentlemen, I hope we have all beautiful people here. Greenheart, good to see you again from northern Vermont, where the Second Amendment is strong and the people have become weak. That's near Lake Wobegon, isn't it? Where the women are strong and the men are good looking and all the children are above average. Bruce, good to see you out there. Leanne. Let's see who else is out there. Onslow. Haven't seen you before. Good to see you there. Make sure to put your questions in caps in the chat and then I can see them. And Susie, she's not in this country, but she is wishing that we win our election because she knows if we lose, everybody loses. All right, let's get back at it. Hang on a second. Let me change screen. Something a little pleasant. All right. That was Pluto flyby, by the way, behind the Contact in the Desert. Thank you much for asking. So, by the way, don't forget the signature cards. These are free. Just shipping and handling. It's just like a thin thing, but they're really high quality. And what I will do is I will sign in this space right here, and then you could peel off the adhesive and stick it inside your book that you bought off Amazon. So you get an autographed copy. Isn't that cool? That's very cool because I don't have autographed copies much in my warehouse. You can check online on my website for autographed copies. I do keep some leftovers from conferences, but I don't stock my man cave with books anymore like I used to. I used to have like 5,000 books on hand, and every weekend I was sitting down with tape and envelopes and printer ink, and we were, taking cases and cases of books to the post office, but I don't do that anymore. I let Amazon handle it, and I'll take the ranking. If you have to come to a conference to get one, you have to come to a conference to get a autographed copy. But because of Operation Corona Scare, I said, well, it's not really their fault that they're not coming because I'm not there, right? Everything was canceled. So I created the signature cards so you could get an autographed copy anyway. And by the way, every time I send any product out from here, books or otherwise, you're going to get this armband, the present from the future. There it is. So just a little conversation piece that you can wear at parties and stuff. All right, BLM. BLM now we know for sure, because of the task force report that has been done, has ties to Marxist groups, and they're now spotlighted in a new video. And this video hits so hard, I cannot play it. I'll get a huge copyright strike, and you will never see this video again. But I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to tell you about it. A new video by researcher Trevor Loudon presents evidence that Black Lives Matter is tied to foreign communist and terrorist organizations through its three co-founders. Patrice Cullors has boasted in an interview of being a trained Marxist along with Alicia Garza. The third co-founder, Opal Tometi, is a known supporter of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. Tometi and Garza are involved with a German revolutionary organization called Rosa Luxemburg Stiftung, which was established by former East German communist leaders to build a new wave of international socialist revolutions, kind of like the one you're seeing happen right now. By the way, let me put in parenthetically, there is hope here. I'm not going to paint a total picture of doom and gloom. One of our fellow reporters out there, a roaming podcaster, was visiting in California. She is from California, but was visiting in California. And she wanted to go sit down someplace with her laptop where she didn't have to wear a mask, so she looked for a local restaurant, which she found. She parked, took her laptop, didn't put a mask on, went into the restaurant. No, of course, everyone's sitting down eating, right? So they're not wearing masks. So she sits down, opens up her laptop, minding her own business, eating cookies, drinking milk, well, whatever she was having at the restaurant, I don't know. But then she started paying attention to the conversation that was going on in the restaurant. And the restaurant was being patronized by millennials, 20 to 35-year-olds, she said. And they were alternative. That is to say, not natural hair color, body piercings, tattoos, etc. Okay, not mainstream, church-going kids. These are alternative kids. So she's listening to the conversation, and she's like, "Oh wow, I better keep my head down, because I'm like, privileged." No, that's not what happened at all. She started listening to the words of the conversation. Every person in the place was talking, and not quietly, about how they had been taken advantage of, how they'd been lied to by the Democrats, how they believed Barack Obama, and they believed the Democrats that they were going to do things to help them, and how stupid they were for opposing President Trump. They were continuously talking about the only guy that's done anything for us is President Trump. He's the only guy that's doing what he said he was going to do. We have been fooled. We've been backing the wrong horse. And she was quietly smiling, sipping her coffee, finished whatever she was doing, went under the car, got on her phone, and instantly produced this podcast. It was pretty good. That was in California, folks. California. Rally in Cali. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Representing. All three co-founders point out in the video about an initiative called Choose Freedom. Now, you may not have heard this yet, but you're going to hear it tomorrow or maybe the next day. It is part of a socialist organization called Liberation Road. Liberation Road. Pay close attention to that word because you're going to hear it from one or more congressmen in the next week. Loudon's video notes that a group with direct ties to the Chinese Communist Party, we will call them the CCP from now on, the Chinese Progressive Association, the CPA, is the main funder of, guess what? Garza's Black Futures Lab. Yeah, they're a voter turnout group. They are, but it's called Black Futures Lab, and it's run and it's founded and funded by Garza. It's funded by the CPA. Choose Freedom describes itself as an initiative aimed at clarifying the stark differences between the tyranny that is the inevitable result of Marxist revolutions and the liberties guaranteed in the United States constitutional republic. That's what we face. That's the war right there. And given a choice, she said, we believe informed Americans will choose freedom rather than willingly opt to live under oppressive regimes that rule according to the totalitarian agenda of socialist communists, says Choose Freedom's website. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? All that juicy rhetoric, all shined up and nice, okay? Everything is logical. Well, yes, I'm against socialists. I'm against communists, absolutely. I'm against a totalitarian agenda. I better vote yes for choose freedom. That sounds wonderful. Sign me up. Well, Loudon found that Collier's was mentored for many years by Eric Mann. He's a Maoist communist member of the Weather Underground domestic terrorist organization. And there's a lot more in the 5-minute video, but as I said, I can't show it. I'll get a terrible copyright strike, and they may pull my video altogether. Anyone who takes a knee to BLM is bowing to Chinese communism and terrorism, okay? So all those crybaby millionaire baseball players who put their knee on the black ribbon around the baseball diamond, get up. Wake up. Hit the ball and get off your knees. Now, this is important. Hang on a second while I take another sip through my Trump straw. You know, that's the secret, is 2 pieces of Death Star ice. It makes it just cold enough. What? Hallmark. Yeah, Hallmark has them. It's a 2-piece mold, and you snap the pieces together, fill it with filtered water, put it in your freezer, and boom, a big chunk of Death Star ice. You just peel the pieces apart with some hot water and put it in your ice tray, and then you can, it's a great conversation, especially with clear liquor. I mean, it gets the conversation started right away. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, come on. What's better than that? You could take out your little, huh? Yeah, you could take out all your paraphernalia and really get the conversation started. That's the secret. It's Hallmark, okay? Hallmark has little stores around. That's where you go. Mall, Death Star ice. Get one for your boyfriend or whatever. It's a really cool gift. More gift ideas coming later on tonight, too. All right. The CCP, this week, this is a big deal. The CCP has been designated a transnational crime group. Yes, this is a big thing, a transnational crime group. And it hasn't been designated this before. The organizational structure of Chinese organized crime in the United States is very complex. I'm going to take the rest of this segment, and explain it to you. It's not like Big Trouble in Little China. Well, okay, maybe a little bit, but what can I say? Okay, Kurt Russell nailed it. Okay, broadly defined, there is a great variety of Chinese criminal organizations. These include gangs, secret societies, triads, tongs, Taiwanese organized crime groups, and strictly U.S.-based tongs and gangs. There is no empirical support for the belief that there is a well-organized, monolithic, hierarchical criminal cartel called the Chinese Mafia. It doesn't exist, okay? That being said, even though they're broken apart into all these little concerns, and they have different levels, and I'll explain those to you in a minute, they don't fight turf wars against one another inside the U.S. Somehow they know where the grass ends and the gravel begins. They know where the gravel ends and the asphalt begins. Okay, they know these areas and they work their areas, and they are coordinated on some level. These gangs are rival in nature, but they know better than to break out into turf wars like U.S. gangs. You don't see Chinese groups shooting each other up like they do in Chicago. In Chicago, these turf wars can get, from street corner to street corner, and people get in the way, and it's a big mess. In order to simplify and focus this discussion, I'm going to analyze and I'm going to concentrate on what's called the Fuk Qing Gang. That's F-U-K. No, I spelled it correctly. You'll see in my notes. The Fukuching are active in New York City, and they're regarded as one of the most powerful and also transnationally active. They're Chinese organized crime groups in the U.S., and they are estimated to have approximately 35 members, with another 20 members currently in prison. Now, these are just the leaders, okay? Other major gangs in New York City include the Ghost Shadows, Flying Dragons, Tung On, and Born to Kill. The New York City gangs, like the Fukuching, mainly operate extortion and protection rackets in defined neighborhoods in New York's Chinatown. Their victims are mostly businesses in Chinatown. In California, the Chinese organized crime presence and problem is quite different than that in New York. In California, the dominant groups are the Wohapto and the Waching. One of the structural characteristics that makes Chinese organized crime different from other forms is the relationship between some of the street gangs and certain adult organizations. This is where it gets very big. Okay? The latter, these adult organizations, are called tongs. The Fukuching, for example, are affiliated with the Fujian American Association. Yeah, believe it or not, a nonprofit that can actually accept money, put money in the bank, launder money, and takes donations. Lots of them. The Fujian American Association, as with other tongs and their relationships with gangs, provide the Fukuching with a physical place to gather and to hang out, and they allow the gang to operate on their territory, thus legitimizing them with the community. They also provide criminal opportunities such as protecting gambling operations as well as supplying money and guns. The Fukuching originally emerged in New York in the mid-1980s, and as with other gangs, their main criminal activity in Chinatown was extortion, which basically means you need protection, don't you? They were founded by a collection of young men, late teens, early 20s, from the Fujian province in China, many if not all of whom have criminal records in China. Fukuching recruitment today continues to be among the Fujianese teenagers. Tong-affiliated gangs like the Fukuching have an Akung, a grandfather, or a Shukfu, an uncle, who is their Tong leader. The top gang position is the Dai Dai Lo, the big brother. Communication between the Tong and the gang occurs principally between these two individuals. Between the Dai Dai Lo, in descending order, are the Dai Los, or big brothers, the Yi Lo Sam Lo, the clique leaders, and at the bottom, the Magi, or the little horses. All these are important, and they're all real. And they all look just like, programmers. They don't look like MS-13. There are a variety of norms and rules that govern the gangs. And all of these have to do with respect and, behavior and rules. And that's how they keep everything in check. And if you step out of that or you start using the drugs that you're selling, well, it's bad Chinese for you. The Chinese transnational organized crime is where this becomes very dangerous. The Fukuching, taken place in recent years, due in part to the advent of the Fukuching and to gang involvement in alien smuggling activities. Based on his research, Mr. Chin concludes the following with respect to Chinese gang violence in general. The capacity for violence appears to be one of the key defining characteristics of street gang culture. Don't just threaten, do it. Its employment, however, is shaped and is determined by a cluster of constraints related to profit-generating goals. There is also a set of oaths and covenants that goes along with this. This is how they know that you will do what it is you swore to do even when no one is watching. All the violence is regulated. Yes, the Fukuching are violent, but their use of violence is not very sophisticated nor specialized. It's not the systematic use of violence, using threats to protect and gain monopoly control of criminal markets, that's associated with these mature forms of organized crime. Listen very closely, because you're going to see it reveal itself in Washington, D.C. right before your eyes when I tell you this. Instead, it is much more likely to be random street-level violence, guns, clubs, fires, employed by anyone in the gang. Sometimes this violence is sanctioned, and sometimes it is not. Usually, economic and blackmail resources are utilized because they facilitate or monitor alien smuggling and the movement of migrants across national borders. Not only is this enormous money, in the hundreds of billions of dollars, it is also huge control over the people and the businesses who utilize these illegals. With coercion and exploitation, the Fuqing are extensively involved in both types of activities. Indeed, these criminal activities, along with kidnapping, are the main transnational crimes of the Fuqing. It means they feed tons of money to local Democrat official campaigns to keep their businesses safe and growing. It is sometimes difficult to tell which gang is more dangerous. Their dominance is related to Fujian province being the principal source of Chinese being smuggled and trafficked into North America. On the domestic scene, their main criminal activities in New York City's Chinatown, are extortion and gambling. Each Chinese gang dominates these crimes in their particular Chinatown neighborhoods. This includes the Fuqing. The professionalism and sophistication of the Fuqing are quite low, again, as compared to more mature forms of organized crime. The same is true of other Chinese criminal gangs operating in the United States. This may be due to their being generally much younger than, for example, LCN or Russian organized crime figures. Also, their criminal activities are not particularly sophisticated. I'm going to give you an example. They owned or operated restaurants, retail stores, vegetable stands, car services, ice cream parlors, fish markets, video stores, payroll check cashing services. On a higher, more professional level, they also owned or operated wholesale supply firms, factories like sewing factories, banks, employment agencies like temporary agencies where they can traffic people. In addition, on the West Coast, Chinese gangs are believed to have penetrated the entertainment industry, Hollywood, professional dancers, musical support, and even support in the film industry like grips and laborers and makeup people and all those kinds of people. Perhaps it is because of their relatively small size, the youth of their members, and their lack of business experience and acumen and the geographical constraints in which they operate, that Chinese gangs such as the Fuqing do not seem to play significant roles in the broader legitimate economy. The expert consensus is that the Fuqing, like other Chinese gangs, do not have the connections and stature to make them capable of corrupting U.S. police and judges. And that's the whole idea. That's what they want you to believe. They want to appear weak when actually they are strong. As to political influence, there is some ability to manipulate the political system via corruption in China. They filter money, and lots of it. In the United States, there is no evidence of corrupting the political process because you can't find it. The witnesses are dead. The lawyers are bribed. The judges are threatened. In some cases, they'll go to the house and they will shoot the judge or shoot their family. They just will not surrender. So, I have about 1 minute left in this segment, and there's a lot more to cover here, and I want to lay this groundwork, so I'm going to carry this over to the top of the hour, because this investigation is ongoing by the FBI and the NYPD, but with de Blasio's defunding of the police, the Asian crime unit has exploded into every other area of the city. On the international level, U.S. law enforcement has undertaken a number of initiatives to improve international cooperation between Chinese organized crime groups. You're going to be amazed when you see the extent of this. It's enormous. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're looking for is buried by official narratives and propaganda. This is why TFR is 100% uncensored, unregulated, and listener-supported. The shows on TFR are not micromanaged by the station, and our hosts are free to speak their minds however they please. As such, the views and opinions expressed on our station are of those who make them. If you happen to hear anything offensive on TFR, please send us an email to toughtitty@tfrlive.com, and we'll be happy to we really don't give a damn. We stand for freedom of speech and non-censorship. If you also stand for free speech, you can go to tfrlive.com/sign-up and sign up for a TFR supporter pass and help us in our mission to keep the airwaves uncensored and unregulated. TFR Live, your uncensored and unregulated protection from deception.
President Trump surprising supporters outside Walter Reed Medical Center. I'm Ann Carrick, Fox News. The president leaving the hospital briefly waving from his car, earlier tweeting out a video.
I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school. This is the real school. This isn't the let's read the book school. And I get it, and I understand it.
One question now, who among the high ranks of government may have been exposed to COVID-19? The president's national security advisor says those efforts are ongoing.
Robert O'Brien says the White House medical staff is working to find out through contact tracing if top government officials are at risk. On CBS Face the Nation, he says in the meantime,
people are getting tested on a regular basis. I've seen a number of my colleagues here this morning who've tested negative for 3 or 4 straight days in a row.
O'Brien says he has also assured other nations that the leadership of the United States is solid, even as President Trump recovers from COVID-19. Bernal Scott, Fox News.
The Texas Attorney General is facing criminal allegations from some of his top deputies.
An internal letter obtained by a local TV station and newspaper reveals those deputy AGs are accusing Ken Paxton of bribery and abuse of office. The letter doesn't offer specifics, but it's noteworthy because several of the lawyers are longtime supporters of Paxton's conservative Christian politics. During most of his tenure, Paxton has been under felony indictment for securities fraud. His lawyer for that case didn't comment on the latest accusations, but Paxton's office released a statement saying the complaint is designed to impede an ongoing investigation into criminal wrongdoing, even by some people in his office. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
America's listening to Fox News.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
Hey, really quick, wanted to welcome more people in the chat room. Niels, good to see you out there. Great to hear from you. I believe he's in Spain. And Onslow, good to hear you. He's in the UK. Lots of people from around the world. Professor Bauer, nice to see you out there. Videos from the underground. You're new. Restaman, I'm so glad you're here. He says, hey, dudes and dudettes. Restaman checking in from Joshua Tree, California. Dudettes. Far out. I think I remember in the old days when we used to get vinyl records, they had this comedy kind of skit, and I don't even remember the name of it, but that's the first time I ever heard the word dudettes. Make sure you have your shoes inflated. Can somebody help me with that? It's been 50 years, since I heard it, so I just remember the first time I heard the word dudettes. So anyway, I wanted to very quick give you a quick commercial because next week is the Saturday that we have the first class. We have this every month, 2 consecutive Saturdays. We have the Manifestation Masterclass. Now, there are a lot of people out there that do this, but not the way I do it. And they charge you a condo payment. I'm charging you a movie price because I believe that if I can help you with all of the skills that I've accumulated, and I have a lot of skills, and people pay big money for them. If I can give you those skills for $47 for 5 hours and teach you something that can get you off top dead center and make your dream come true, then I've done my job. Now, my demographic is age 40 to maybe 60 years old. Why? Because these are the people that have already done everything they're supposed to do. They did everything they had to do. And now it's time for you to do what you dreamed to do. Okay? So if you don't have a 401k to manage, don't worry about it. Because we're going to do something really cool. Whatever it is that you do, I can do it better. And I can help you do it better. That's what I'm talking about. So come on, partake of it. Just come. Okay, it's a webinar, it's live, it's not recorded, it's you and me, and when we get through it, you can ask all the questions you want, and then the following Saturday, we have a special class on journaling. Yeah, journaling, filling out a journal, making out a lab notebook the right way, so it turns into a dream book, a dream-making system for you, and it will manifest your future, and I can prove it. Mathematically and through the physics of the soul. All right, let's get back to it. Now, I want to finish this because it's important. De Blasio cut the funding of the New York City Police Department, and this really turned these gangs loose because the special trained individuals who know this language, who can infiltrate, who can monitor what's going on and keep it in check, they were getting close. They were really getting close. Close to what? Well, this money is not overlooked. These Chinese gang members, when they get caught, they just simply flee back to China, okay? When they're sought by American law enforcement. They're recycled. They get a new identity, and they're reinserted in another area of the country, in Chicago, in Louisiana, in British Vancouver. I mean, the thing is that these deportation, extradition, joint operations, and intelligence sharing among law enforcement authorities from various countries has to be carried out routinely. It has to be kept up. Extradition treaties have to be updated. Okay? All these things have to be instated, and they have to be monitored. And what's happened is the Democrats systematically took all this stuff apart. Once these people are out of the country, you can't get them back. You can't go after them. Okay? Most Chinese business owners comply with these gang extortion demands because, you know why? Compliance is easier. It's less risky than resistance. Nobody gets hurt. It's a cost of doing business. As previously indicated, the gang affiliation with a tong gives them a degree of acceptability. In the neighborhoods associated with that particular tong, the gangs must be tolerated in order to gain any benefit that accrues from the tong. It would seem that there is little need in Chinatown for awareness-raising campaigns on organized crime because they already know about it, but it's spreading. The Chinese who live in these neighborhoods are fully aware and fully sensitized, absolutely. Rather than public information campaigns, Chinese businesses would prefer a tougher criminal justice system, but we don't have it. We don't have law and order. Because of the compartmentalized nature of Chinese organized crime in the United States, the public at large, which is you, has no awareness of and little concern about what is going on in Chinatown and U.S. cities. National media pay relatively little attention to these problems. For example, an internet search of major U.S. newspapers under the topic Asian organized crime for the period between, let's say January 1st of 1998 and say August 1st of 2000, 13 articles. 13 articles. Chinese involvement in human smuggling, however, may be the exception to this rule. Chinese human smuggling has received considerable attention in the last 3 years. A recent conference in Washington, D.C. on human smuggling pointed to 5 possible reasons for the high public profile given Chinese smuggling operations. Number 1 is they're expensive. Number 2 is their associated human rights abuses are considerable, and they go all the way back to the CCP. What do I mean by abuses? I don't mean slapping somebody. I don't mean shaving their head and making them walk backwards. I mean stealing a kidney. Yeah, I mean killing them and taking their heart and giving it to a rich donor, to a rich contributor that wants that donated heart. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about slavery. I'm talking about child prostitution and pornography. They're highly efficient. There is an enormous potential pool of migrants. It's unbelievable. There are more people being trafficked and being suppressed by the CCP than live in the United States. Let that sink in just for a second. Collecting intelligence and other information from China is extraordinarily difficult. That is an understatement. Hopefully, this report tonight will raise their profile, and the FBI will be directed to push them out of the country. And guess what? We're not alone. Hundreds of U.S. and international religious and human rights groups and activists are calling for the U.S. Department of Justice to declare the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, a transnational criminal organization, a TCO. The effort comes as tensions between Washington and Beijing continue to flare, compounded by the U.S. shuttering the Chinese consulate in Houston last week, and followed by the retaliatory measure of China closing the U.S. consulate in Chengdu. We do business in Chengdu. We did last year. We moved everything to Morocco and to Vietnam. The letter addressed to Attorney General William Barr, it's actually dated July 23rd, which is a few months ago. It claims that the Chinese Communist Party's the CCP's lethality and criminal sophistication demonstrates that this lawless CCP poses a clear and present danger to the health, security, and prosperity of America. Now, the letter was actually sponsored by the religious freedom outfit Save the Persecuted Christians Coalition. The CCP, Transnational Criminal Organization designation, is clearly justified by the epidemic, the letter says, of American citizens victimized and killed by the Chinese manufactured and transmitted lethal synthetic drug fentanyl. Oh yeah, it kills people every single day. In fact, I challenge you, if you have the time, I challenge you, go to your local morgue. Just do it tomorrow. I mean, do it before lunch or after lunch, a significant time after lunch. Go there. I guarantee you, I don't care. I don't care if it's a small town. Even a small town, go to your morgue. I guarantee you're going to find somebody overdosed on fentanyl. Yeah, it's every freaking where because it's cheap and it's deadly. According to the CDC, deaths involving other synthetic narcotics, including fentanyl and fentanyl analogs, continue to rise with more than 31,335 overdose deaths. And that was in 2018. It's almost double that now. Think about it. 60,000 people a year dying of fentanyl inside the United States. Every year. Every year. We only have 50 states, folks. That's 1,000 cities inside every state, which I don't even think there are 1,000 cities in most states. That's a person dying every year. It's more than that. It's more than that. The letter goes on to stress that for decades, the CCP perpetrated and proliferated IP embezzlement, that's intellectual property, and economic espionage on Americans and U.S. businesses, resulting in theft and loss of vast wealth and prosperity. I'm a victim of it. I went over there. I had my technology stolen. Absolutely. I went to Wuhan. I went to Jiangsu City. I promise you, I sat at tables of people from all over the world, from New Zealand, from Australia, from the United States. We were all being taken to the cleaners. And guess who was standing right there next to him? The American ambassador to China. The extent and breadth of the criminal reach of the CCP knows no bounds. One of President Trump's first moves after assuming the office in early 2017 was to sign the Executive Order 13773, and it was entitled Enforcing Federal Law with Respect to Transnational Criminal Organizations, TCOs, and Preventing International Human Trafficking. This, according to the letter authorized by executive branch to strengthen federal law enforcement to thwart transnational criminal organizations that present a threat to public safety and national security. It is exceedingly evident that the list of transnational criminal organizations that should include the CCP. The pattern of the CCP criminality in the U.S. and around the world demonstrates a clear and present threat to public safety and national security. It cites an array of examples ranging from the 2014, right in the middle of the Obama administration, findings that the CCP hacked Anthem Insurance, collecting sensitive information on 80 million Americans, to the 2017 breach of Equifax, in which the names, birth dates, checking accounts, job employment, signatures, voting records, social security numbers, credit scores, 145 million Americans. That's about every adult working in the United States at that time. To the 2019 break-in of the Marriott system, in which China's top brass was accused of stealing information on 383 million guests, including their passport numbers. I don't stay at Marriott, so it didn't happen to me. On July 7th, 2020, just a few months ago, Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, raised the alarm about the threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party to the economic and national security of the United States. Here's what he said. Let's see. According to Wray, the level of CCP criminality is so widespread and voluminous that the FBI is opening a new China-related counterintelligence case about every 10 hours. And of the nearly 5,000 active FBI counterintelligence cases currently underway across the country, almost half are related to China, close quote. In conclusion, the letter contends that the CCP fits the characterization of a TOC, okay, as the organized criminal activity every single day, leaves Americans vulnerable to a widespread campaign of lawlessness, intimidation, and piracy. The letter, penned by the likes of Attorney General Elizabeth Yore, founder of the anti-child exploitation organization Your Children, and Didi Laugason, who is the executive director of Save the Persecuted Christians, has additionally been signed by more than 500 individual activists and representatives from more than 70 non-governmental agencies and foundations in the realm of religious freedom, politics, and human rights. This includes backing from the Campaign for the Uyghurs, the South Asia Minorities Foundation, and the Christian Activist Network for New England. To the Vietnamese Women for Human Rights, the Church Almighty God, the Buddhist Solidarity Organization, and Revealing Light Ministries. Now, Scott Perry, who is a representative from Pennsylvania, 10th District, he introduced legislation to hold China accountable for its deceitful and deceptive actions at the World Health Organization during the outbreak of Operation Corona Scare. It was on purpose what was going on. Who says they are like locusts. Every country they have dealings in, they go through and scarf everything up. And with our money via those past trade deals from our politicians. That's exactly correct. They go in and they grease the campaigns of these politicians, and the politicians open the doors, give them the keys and give them the passwords, and allow them, facilitate them to take our stuff. China committed unforgivable sins of omission and deceit during the outbreak of COVID-19, as well as a result, caused unimaginable suffering and death. China's blatant dishonesty towards the international community costs lives, and the CCP and the WHO must be held accountable for their failures. That's what Congressman Perry said. He went on to say the CCP attempted to hide the outbreak from the public. They detained the doctors, they disappeared the journalists, and intentionally destroyed testing samples, and the WHO happily coalesced and failed to serve as the independent organization involved. We've known for a long, long time, but now it's abundantly clear to everyone that China is neither a good faith partner nor a responsible actor in the UN. Unlike China, Taiwan is the beacon of democracy in Asia, and throughout Operation Corona Scare has proven to be a reliable and trustworthy partner in the international community. By the way, Representative Perry is a senior member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and serves on the subcommittee on Asia, the Pacific, and non-proliferation. Now, what does this mean that they are designated a transnational criminal organization? It means that they lose their veto power in the UN. Yeah, that's what it means. It means that lots of nations will feel the communist boot come off their neck. And this is going to happen probably tomorrow or the next day. So I'm bringing it to you a little bit in the past. But that's okay, because the future is always in motion, and you need to know where to stand. All right. So what does this mean? Where are we? What's going on? I mean, can we just get up at 4:30 in the morning, get in our vehicle, drive to work, and do our thing? Can we bang away on our computer and answer our phone calls and fill our purchase orders out and ship product as normal? Yeah, pretty much. That's the way things are going to go. But I want you to be aware. You need situational awareness, because there's something very big going on here. And it's not something like you're going to look up and see bombers flying overhead or see even a bright flash. Although I need to make you aware, as I did on Wednesday, if you were listening to this program, the Chinese very mysteriously surprised us by launching 2 satellites this last week. Yeah, we didn't know about it till they were already airborne, and we don't know what they do. It always worries me when Chinese, comma, slash, parentheses, North Korean technology ends up going into space. We have 2 North Korean satellites that are up there totally silent. We haven't heard a peep from them. We don't know what they do. We know where they are, but we don't know what they do, and we don't know how to wake them up. They haven't made a signal, not one. I don't think they're dumb. I don't think they're out of power. I think they're waiting. They very well could be EMP devices. And what does that mean? Electromagnetic pulse. Well, an electromagnetic pulse from 100 and something miles up could disrupt everything underneath it. If the pulse is large enough, it could actually permanently damage electronics within the range. More than likely, what will happen is it will disrupt power distribution. How long remains to be seen. It depends on if the damage is permanent to little things like circuit boards, or if there's enough voltage that ends up in the air that the power lines then act as antenna, and they pick up that electricity in the air and take it to the transformer. The transformer boosts it up to millions and millions, tens of millions of volts, and it blows right through the insulation of the transformer and destroys it. That happens, could be months. It could be months before you get full power back up in some districts. Brownouts, blackouts, rationing. You could have electricity a couple of hours a day, and that's about it. A variety of things could happen. And all of this is to make you aware that you need to do a couple of things yourself. While you're getting up at 4:30, while you're getting dressed, while you're driving to work, while you're filling out your purchase orders and answering your phone calls and greeting your customers and trying to sell your product and do your job. Remember, when you go shopping for food, buy a little extra. Buy another couple bags of rice and beans. Buy a little bit more canned goods. I'm talking about long-term stuff. Don't get more eggs and milk and, bread. Like, hey, a snowstorm's coming. No, a snowstorm really is coming, but I'm talking about longer term. Pack it away. Put it in a box. Put it in a box, not too heavy. You know why? Because you might have to take it with you. So don't put it in a 55-gallon drum unless you own a forklift, because you may have to pack it in the trunk of your car, or put it in your minivan, or put it in a basket on your bicycle and bug out. Okay? I'm just saying you need to have a month's supply of food. Okay? A month's supply. It takes a little while. It's not something you just go out and do this Friday, but you can do it over 4 or 5 Fridays. I'm just telling you, you will walk down the hallway differently. You will walk down the hallway differently if you have this security blanket. The other thing you're going to need is water. Now, there are a variety of ways to do this, but the cheap way to do it is regular old 2-liter bottles. Like the Pepsi comes in and that, they're polyester bottles. They last virtually forever if you keep them out of sunlight, and they make great water bottles, okay? So when you empty the soda, wash it out, put a drop of chlorine in it, and fill it up with water. Don't put filtered water in it. No, don't do that, because you're going to store this water, and you don't want critters growing in it. Put a couple drops of chlorine in it, like bleach, like you bleach your clothes with, and fill it up. And no, you're not going to drink it or cook with it. You're going to filter it as it comes out of the bottle, but you want to keep critters from growing in it, okay? And you need to probably have about 20 of these things on hand at any given time, because you're going to need one of them to get through the day. Yeah, and it's not the lack of food that'll kill you. It's the lack of water. And if you put it in these small containers, you can put 2 of them in a backpack, and you can walk. And you can be okay for a couple days. Just saying. These are things that you can do. You can also go to My Patriot Supply. There's a link there at Truth Frequency Radio right there on the front page. You can go to tfr.com, and you click that link and go to it. Now, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be roughly halfway through the program. At the bottom of the hour, I want to begin this awareness. And I've been sort of briefing you on it for the last few months, but it's getting serious now, and I need you to pay close attention. So if you have friends out there that are listening to some of their podcasts now, go ahead and text them and tell them to move over. And don't forget to hit that like button. We've got about 100 people watching live right now on YouTube, and there are some on the other platforms as well. Do that, and I'll meet you back here in 3 minutes. Don't go away.
Extendivite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, hawthorn, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Extendivite feeds our body with the right nutrients to keep us healthy. Just listen to what Arthur has to say.
I was just calling to tell you what a great product you have. I had used this about 10 years ago after I had congestive heart failure. And it fixed me up and got me going for the last 10 years. Lately, I've been having heart trouble again, so I placed another order because this was anything that ever worked. I just wanted to let you know that you have a great product.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Your home has needs. It needs a healthy, dry environment all year round. Start by getting rid of the worst air in the basement and crawl space, where the problems begin and make the whole house sick. Introducing the new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. It has advanced technologies to continuously reduce moisture, mold, and odors, and expel radon, gases, and pollutants. And now, Wave units include carbon monoxide detection to automatically expel air at a high rate and send you an alert. It also has an app so you can remotely monitor the conditions. Wave is a comprehensive, maintenance-free, affordable solution that will transform your entire home. Protect your home and family with what it needs. Give it a new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. For more information, call 888-717-WAVE. That's 888-717-WAVE. Or go to dryhealthyhome.com. That's dryhealthyhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
For 5,000 years, the world was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They have killed hundreds of Americans and recently attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
I've been waiting for this moment since my first breath in. Never would have thought I'd be afraid to begin, but here I am, the edge of the water, wondering if I can swim. Never seem to notice all the days I through, but in this final moment, I'm still chasing the truth. I want an explanation why I can't stay here forever in my youth. And if I press on, will you wait? Will you wait for me forever, or would it be wrong to ask you to come
All right, welcome back. Halfway through. Wow, this program goes so fast. It's really unbelievable. You know, we really do 3 hours of great content here every Sunday night. We do 2 hours Wednesday night. Now, there are other 3-hour radio programs out there, okay? There's Will Cow, there's David Webb, there's Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh. They're all out there. But they don't really do 3 hours of content. No. They do about an hour and a half of content and an hour and a half of commercials. You're lucky to get a 5 or 10 minute segment out of them without some kind of pillow ad or a drug or, some kind of ad. We don't do that here. We take a 3-minute break every 30 minutes. I speak for 27 minutes straight. It's a lot of notes. Oh, yeah, it's a lot of notes. And you can go to my website right away, and it's very easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you really quick one more time. Looky here. Right here on the screen, this is the front page right here. This is the top, okay? America Free Radio, hosted by moi. That's okay. Yeah, I had a tan, but it's me. And right here, you see where it says about Brooks Agnew, it says get the newsletter, blah, blah, blah. Right here, look where it says show prep notes. You see that, show prep notes? I'm going to go ahead and click on it just so you can see what happens. Watch this. Now, it's going to take you to a website, and that website has all of my notes on it by year. Look at this. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. My goodness, that's this year. If I click on that, it takes me, where it's a little slow because I'm streaming to you live, so all this is kind of taking a little bit extra bandwidth. Look at that. There's the entire year. First Sunday, second Sunday, third Sunday, fourth Sunday, fifth Sunday. And every single one of those has a link. Yes, absolutely. And if you click that link, like, let's just say I click that one right there. Why? Watch that. June 14th. No results found. Okay, well, that's not exactly what's supposed to happen. Maybe I was on flying that week. But I promise you it does work, okay? It does work. Shut up. Okay, I'll click another one. It should take you to... You're fired. You are so fired. It's supposed to work, okay? It could be that I was traveling that Sunday. I know there was a Sunday in here where I wasn't traveling, and it's working. All right, so what'll happen is it'll bring you to the file, and if you click save, you can actually save those notes to your device, and you can read them for yourself. And some of these, I have 50 pages of notes for some of these programs, okay? So there's a lot going on out there, a lot. And I don't cover it all because even though I talk for 3 hours on this program, we don't get to it all. It's just hard to do. So I want to prepare you for this because it's not something that our parents prepared us for. They just didn't. They didn't prepare us for it. I wish they would have, but they didn't. We've read about it, and the history that we got was a little watered down. It was written by liberals. It was written by socialists themselves. It was written by Marxists. A lot of the history that you got in your schools was not real. You had to get outside your schools, and you had to access other sources that were closer to what was going on. Talk to actual witnesses and actual historians. Well, it seems that we, the U.S. military, is quietly deploying assets. I tell you what, I'm not going to put this very diplomatically, because you deserve it. You do. You deserve it. And I go and I look at the chat room, and I look at the people that are there. Gang of Four is out there. He knows fentanyl's made by the Chinese government. Niels Lars in a foreign country, but he says so many countries are seriously indebted to China, Africa, South America, etc. It's a big problem because the Chinese Development Bank, the World Bank, the Monetary Fund, they are corrupt, and what they do is they work on the poverty of these countries and say, oh, we'll loan you money to build a dam or a road or a nuclear power plant or whatever, and you'll get all this great electricity. And then when the country cannot repay, then they foreclose. And this is how they take over these small countries. Niels is exactly right. And by the way, Half-Breed, good to see you. He's down there in Florida. And it's good support. Good support. Some funny stuff in the chat room, too. You should be there. In fact, if you're in there, I know there's a lot in there right now. We have about 100 people watching, but only 50 likes. What's up with that? We should have more likes than that. If you get more likes going, I don't know, it's like sticking it to the man, okay? So click the like button again. And of all the people, I have about 10,000 subscribers. Only 11% of them get the notification. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to follow a person, subscribe to a person, and not be aware of when they go live? Just do it, okay? Now, the U.S. military is quietly deploying assets to protect the U.S. against an assault. Yeah, I said it. In keeping with the pivot away from the Middle East, because in case you haven't noticed, we're making peace in the Middle East for the first time in 1,000 years because of President Trump. We are now noticing patches, arm patches, like death from above, like airborne, like, you have the patches, the unit patches. Mine was 319th AMS. Ooh, bunch of glorious maintenance people. We're seeing the patches on Americans' uniforms, and they're made for the event feature for an MQ-9. Now, I don't know if you know what an MQ-9 is, but it's a Reaper drone. A Reaper drone's a big deal now. It's a $10 million drone. And it doesn't just fly and look around. It also kills stuff. It carries rockets. It carries mini Hellfires. It's a badass drone, okay? And that drone is superimposed over, guess what? A red silhouette of China. I have not seen this arm patch before. I don't know what it goes to, but I'm seeing it on U.S. uniforms in pictures around. I have to blow it up and go, hey, wait a minute. What's that unit patch right there? During this drill, 3 MQ-9s partnered with the Navy's 3rd Fleet, which deploys carrier strike groups, submarines, other sea vessels like oilers and destroyers and frigates and all of that, to the Eastern Pacific, along with Air Force C-130s. You know what those are? Those are the Hercules with the big 4 turboprops on them. They're big green planes with the fat belly. We can't really use them for cargo in the United States because you're not supposed to use military planes to do that. But it's built by Hercules, okay? And they're great airplanes, very tough, and very reliable. Anyway, they're doing special warfare, and they're doing it with Marine Corps personnel. Yeah. Now, the exercises include a mock amphibious assault on San Clemente Island off of California's coast, which might panic a lot of nude sunbathers out there on their boats. Anyway, they saw the MQ-9s carry out airstrikes. These drills always make me nervous. They do, because virtually every single major terror attack we have seen in the U.S., including school shootings, the Las Vegas shooting, were closely accompanied by drills, just like this one. And I can tell you, whenever they have the nuclear drills in Charlotte, I'm out. I leave town. I let them have it. Have your drill, guys. I'm going to Virginia. I'm going to South Carolina. I'm going away from here. Upon learning of the simulated drone strikes Tuesday of last week, The Global Times published this. It's an article suggesting that the U.S. Air Force was preparing to deploy the MQ-9s to attack Chinese-built factories in the South China Sea. What? This is more to their design, by the way. China does not attack or fight wars outside their country. The war they are fighting in America is asymmetric. That is to say, they are using remote methods. They're using counterfeiting, drugs, election tampering, bribery, spying, and larceny on a scale that no one since the Aztecs has seen. Washington is stepping up preparations for war against China. There's no doubt about it. Now, I don't know how many of you are big conspiracy theory people. I'm not. I gather facts and I weigh possibilities. And then you rely on me for my analytical ability, which is better than the average bear, to put the pieces together and explain to you what's going on. I can tell you right now that every single person in President Trump's close orbit of support during that debate was infected in one night. Yeah, that's an attack. That's an attack. Oh, you could say, they just got sick. They were hanging around the drinking fountain. Listen, it doesn't happen. This was a concentrated, aerosolized version of the COVID. It got everybody in the same hour. They all tested negative on Tuesday before the debates. All of them. Thursday, they were sick. Now, I got to ask you the question. I asked myself this question. Wait a minute. How come Biden didn't get sick? If they sprinkled it in front of a fan or something, it was blowing on the stage and it soaked the stage and Trump was there and he caught it and Hope Hicks came out and cleaned up the podium and got his notes or whatever and took them away and other people came out and made sure the stage was good and they got it. I mean, how come Biden didn't get it? How come they didn't target Biden? And then it hit me. Oh, Jesus. What if they did? What if they did? What if Biden comes down with COVID? Well, let's ask the question and let's answer it. What happens if Biden comes down with COVID from the debates last week? He's on a train, right? He's not exposed to anything. He's sequestered. He's isolated. But what if he comes down with it? You know what's going to happen. He's going to blame Trump for not wearing the mask. He's going to blame Trump for bringing the virus in. That's exactly what's going to happen because that's what they do. But that doesn't change the fact that Biden's got it. So you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute. If it was on purpose, if they went in there and they infected Trump's team with the intention of attacking them with a viral warfare agent, that's an act of war. That's an act of assassination. That's why they all went to Walter Reed. Boom, let's get there. Let's get this out of here right now. And it's serious, serious stuff. What if they don't care if Biden gets it? What if they don't care? Biden did such a bad job in that debate, they don't want to debate again. They don't want Biden to ever speak again. What if they infected Biden on purpose? And good old Kamala Harris, waiting in the sidelines to come up and blow us away with her left-wing ideas. Medicare for all. I'm just thinking here. So they're stepping up for preparations for war. And this is to stir hostilities between the two countries and also to blackmail, to China. Using such an armband with the Chinese map will stimulate people's imagination and create a picture of China and the United States going to war, the Global Times added, referring to the new China-centric patches debuted by the U.S. Air Force during the drill. Now, despite the Global Times' denunciation on Tuesday of the U.S. military's alleged warmongering, it has itself developed a reputation for hawkish rhetoric. The newspaper's editor-in-chief, whose name is Hu Shijin, he published an editorial on September 11th, and it was titled, "China must be militarily and morally prepared for war." Really? Well, in the article, Mr. Hu claimed that while the Chinese people do not desire war, Beijing's worsening territorial disputes with other countries, including Taiwan and India, have forced China to seriously consider the possibility of war in the near future. Well, I have friends in India, in the Sindhi community. I don't know if you know what the Sindhi is, but no, it's not like Cindy. It's like Karen. No, it's no, it's not that at all. Sindhi, Sindhi. And they're very dangerous because they're very crafty. They're sort of the high echelon of political thinkers in India. And my Sindhi contacts say that India has been preparing for a long time for a two-front war, one with China and one with Pakistan at the same time. Yeah, and you know what? India will win. India's never lost a major war, ever. Oh, they were occupied by the British, but they didn't lose to the British. They're pretty treacherous in battle. Chinese society must therefore have real courage to engage calmly in a war that aims to protect core interests and be prepared to bear the cost. What does that mean? Chinese society. Chinese society and the CCP are two separate things, Earth Explorers. Two separate things altogether. So the CCP is going to go to war not just with outside concerns, but with inside concerns. He says we are confident to win on the battlefield if conflicts are fought with neighboring forces that have territorial disputes with China. Similarly, if there is a war with the U.S. near China's coastal waters, we also have a good chance of victory. This is what he's printing in his paper. Probably why he's allowed to print his paper. Shortly after the Global Times published its September 11th editorial in which it transparently advocates for war, China's People's Liberation Army, the PLA, they released a propaganda video depicting the Chinese army destroying the U.S. Air Force base on Guam, you saw that, right, with nuclear-capable H-6K heavy bombers. Guam, as you know, is a U.S. island territory in the Western Pacific. A lot of veterans live there, a lot. Guam is like paradise to these guys. They serve over there, they get out, they have to come back here for part of their discharge, and then they move right back to Guam because they love it. The video's offensive content sparked an online backlash. In response, the Global Times tried to defend the footage, citing Chinese experts who attempted to refute claims that China came across as an overtly militaristic nation in the video, titled God of War H-6K Attack. Sounds pretty aggressive to me. The spin, it backfired when one of the experts admitted that Beijing would attack the U.S. if it felt provoked. What does that mean? Am I provoking them right now? It has become accepted knowledge that America's intelligence agencies sort of missed the 9/11 warning signs. But that's not entirely true. Signs were seen, they were there, but they felt impelled to take no action. We were so convinced by the fall of the Soviet Union at the end of history, as the end of history precluded any need for urgency. And yet, even if there had been, no one, and I mean nobody at that point, knew how to react. We'd never been attacked like that before. Oh, we ran drills, but we didn't know what to do. Did you? No. I mean, that was a prepared attack with shaped charges. Implosion device or explosion devices placed on key pillars of the Twin Towers in Building 7. It took 3 buildings down right before our eyes. And they said it was airplanes. Come on. I don't think I need to remind anyone of what happened on 9/11, not on this program. I shared this vignette as a means of showing that there are always signs. It's programs like this, like America Free Radio, that wave the signs. We put a light on the signs so you could see what the hell is going on. We, for whatever reason, miss them anyway, or we ignore them for political reasons, or we're bribed, or we're compromised, or we're paid to look the other way. Let's go to the summer cabin up in Canada, baby, this weekend. Why? Well, I can't tell you why. Let's just go. I've got a feeling we need to get out of town. We refuse to believe them because they contradict the core tenets of our belief system. I believe that China's actions today may be telegraphing an intent we are choosing to ignore, that we are at war. We are fighting a war with China. They're sending weapons, drugs, counterfeit cash, for all we know, counterfeit ballots, human trafficking. They're stealing technology right and left. They're bribing government officials. They're paying for, I don't know how many district attorney campaigns in the United States and how many congressional campaigns in the United States. Can I see by a show of hands all those congressmen and senators who've accepted Chinese money into their campaigns? Come on, people. Open your eyes. I'm waving the sign. All these signs are of a nation preparing to attack America. China seeks a bespoke world that's run by the CCP. Okay? And they would happily sacrifice 300 million Chinese to make that happen. When you come to terms with that, you realize that they're willing to sacrifice as many people as live in the United States, in their own country, just to have this land. And they want to, of course, do it in a way where they don't have to rebuild the buildings. They tried to do it with Operation Corona Scare. They tried to do it with the Wuhan virus. When the Chinese became accusatory, it's telling that they didn't blame the CIA. That's usually their response, right? No, they blamed it on American soldiers. The American military deliberately infected China in an act of war worthy of a military response. In an October 2019 World Military Games were held in Wuhan. Chinese media triumphantly trumpeted the Americans winning just 8 medals while China won 239. It was then that we supposedly infected Wuhan citizens with the American virus. Really? China is now defenestrating foreign media. They're sending home reporters from the Wall Street Journal. They're sending people back to the United States from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, just at the opportune moment. No nation wants journalists around when it's planning a sneak attack. And with its economy ravaged by Trump's trade war, and believe me, it is ravaged, and the virus shut down and now back at full production while America's economy is just now coming back, just now getting back on its knees, getting ready to stand up after being held down and choked to death by Democrat governors all around our country, who are all being paid by Chinese money, millions, billions of dollars, to stay closed. Here in America, the Democrats, along with corporate media, eagerly buy Chinese lies surrounding the notions that the worldwide pandemic, the deadly coronavirus pandemic, my God, how many times have we seen that inflamed in red on all of our media? It's crazy how many times we've seen it. They are actively supporting China's version of the truth. The LaRouche PAC is a good example. Don't blame China. You can't blame the virus on China. The Chinese Silk Road is the key to the future. Everyone's out there saying it. China has every reason to believe they will continue to do so. When or if China attacks, the Democrats, their army, and Antifa and BLM, they're going to flood the streets with protesters designed to stop America from responding to China's attacks. After all, don't we deserve it? Didn't we elect Trump? China claims there are no new infections when there is ample evidence that that claim is a lie. Everything we're seeing in the press over there is a lie. More when we come back. Don't go away. More X Squared Radio through the America Free Radio Studios, coming to you right after this. Don't go away. Final hour starts in about 3 minutes. Take a breath.
Truth Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like Beyond the Veil with Chris and Cherie Geo, X Squared with Brooks Agnew, Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas, Jaronism Raw with Jaron and Missa, Fearless with Frank Castle, Strange World with Mark Sargent, The Eye of Ra with Ra Castaldo, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray, Ironworks with Josh Corey, The Kev Baker Show, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR-LIVE. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
President Trump with his own update from the hospital. I'm Ann Carrick, Fox News. The president's medical team saying earlier today President Trump might be able to return to the White House tomorrow. The president then releasing a new video on Twitter.
We're getting great reports from the doctors. This is an incredible hospital, Walter Reed. The work they do is just absolutely amazing, and I want to thank them all, the nurses, the doctors, everybody here. I've also gotten to meet some of the soldiers and the first responders, and what a group.
The president also stepping outside to greet supporters. The White House Correspondents Association releasing a statement saying it's outrageous the president would leave the hospital even briefly without a protective pool present, adding the public deserves independent coverage so they have reliable information about his health condition. Understandably, some changes in the Trump campaign schedule.
With just 30 days until Election Day, the situation has thrown the debates into question and fixed the public's attention more squarely than ever on the pandemic. The White House removed a planned campaign rally on Friday night in Florida and 2 from Wisconsin on Saturday.
Fox's John Decker. The issue of Hunter Biden, son of former Vice President Joe Biden, and millions from Moscow came up again during the first presidential debate. Republican California Congressman Devin Nunes on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures.
Here you have the media, which is the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party, ignoring all of this for the last 4 years. And now you have on a debate stage, why did your son get paid $3.5 million from a Russian oligarch? So here they've been blaming Republicans have something to do with Russia when the whole damn time they have something to do with Russia.
Joe Biden saying the allegation about his son is not true. America's listening to Fox News.
You must unite what has been citizen.
We are TFR, Truth Frequency Radio.
right, welcome back. Third hour of America Free Radio, coming to you live through the Truth Frequency Radio Network on the radio. And if you want to call in, the phone lines are live. I'll leave the number posted up here, right here. It is 213-233-3998 if you want to call in, ask me anything about anything, and be happy to answer those questions. I'm sure you have a lot. You can also put your questions in the chat room on YouTube. I am monitoring it on the consolidated chat, but for some reason cannot chat back. So if you're tweeting to me from Twitch or from Twitter or from DLive, I can see it, but I can't respond to it. If you want a response to it, you're going to have to put it in the YouTube chat, and that's fine. It's free. It's free. Yes, Halfbreed says that maybe Dr. Falsey is connected to the CCP. Very well could be. I can tell you that when it comes to medical research, the one thing that you constantly have to do, I know this because I had family in the business, you have to constantly look for donations. Because research doesn't make money. It asks for money, okay? It begs for money. It goes to Congress. It goes to various government agencies and says, hey, we need to have $1 million here, $1 million there. We need donations. They have endowments that they have to maintain, and these are from former alum or companies that feed them money and information and, equipment. But in that desperate journey, you inevitably will come across Chinese benefactors. And there's always something that you can do for them. And they're as friendly can be. I know this. I was a business startup for a while in the electric vehicle industry, and we were looking for funds, and we went to China a lot of times. And we were exposed to a program called the EB-5 program. In the EB-5 program, what happens is China puts up a certain amount of money. Let's say it's $5 million. To a startup company, $5 million is the difference between existing and drying up and blowing away, never getting a start. Because there are no investors in the United States. There are no venture firms in the United States. Those don't exist. They're gone. They've been gone for a long time, maybe 20 years. And they're not coming back, not anytime soon. So the money comes from foreign countries. All the money we raised for our company came from foreign countries. We didn't get it from China because the EB-5 program, although the $5 million looked very attractive, it came with strings. And the strings were that once we started the company, we were obligated to hire a certain number of chosen Chinese nationals. These were people that were going to come to the United States, work 1 or 2 years, and get a green card. That was the whole EB-5 program. So it wasn't that we didn't feel good about that. We didn't feel good about transferring all of our technology, which was so leading edge. We were so far ahead of everyone else in the electric vehicle industry. We were 5 years ahead of everyone else in the electric vehicle industry. We didn't feel like sharing our technology with them. So we backed out of the program, and we never got started. I still have the patents. I still own them, but I'm still way advanced of anything that's out there as far as rear-wheel drive multi-speed electric vehicles, but are multi-ratio electric vehicles. But the Chinese money was just the wrong money for us. That money's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in software. It's in manufacturing. It's in education. It's in medical industry. Everywhere. Every building, every office, every supplier, every tool maker. My God, we have millions of dollars worth of tools in our plant that were built in China. Because they sell at a loss. And they throw so much manpower at stuff, they can get it done on a great schedule. Nobody can compete with them. We don't do it now because now we're paying the price. But I could just tell you, it's a big deal. They're everywhere. They're in every single industry. And so what happens is they also have to have a political presence. And the political presence they have is not necessarily in Chinese people, because Asians are kind of conspicuous when they stand on stage and run for office. But they can stand just behind them with money and with support. Now, the CCP created a propaganda press entity. Yes, the propaganda press entity is called United Front. United Front. And it pressures the U.S. liberals, mostly Democrats. They did some establishment Republicans as well, Paul Ryan and others, to promote public relations that are beneficial to the CCP. Not necessarily the Chinese people, because the Chinese people aren't really in on this, but the Chinese Communist Party. The United Front always has operated with foreign political parties, with their colleges, with their corporations, to mobilize popular support for the CCP. It's important for them. It's like, I don't know if you're watching the televised show called The Boys, right? The Boys. It's kind of brutal and vulgar and nasty, but it's a corporation called Vought. And what Vought has done is they've created, just around World War II, a drug called V, compound V. And this drug, when it's given to infants, it turns the infants into super-powered people. And we never really know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get a superpower that's not very popular, like you turn into liquid or you can light things on fire. Other times it's a little more like Superman or more like the world's fastest man or, that kind of stuff. Anyway, they're superheroes and they can be used to fight crime. And what happens is Vault rents out these superheroes to cities for like $200 million a year. It's a business to them. They're selling superpowers. But that's just the main theme of the series, The Boys. The most important thing to pay attention to is the PR, the public relations. Everything about Vought is about the number of clicks, the number of likes, the number of shares, the number of upvotes and popular comments, and it's all about the public relations. What does it look like? How do we make ourselves look better? And of course, it's all about making Vought richer and more powerful, integrating them into community, into politics, into the military. And of course, it's all falling apart because with superpowers comes super corruption. But you have to see the series to appreciate it. It is vulgar, though. I mean, it's just not for teenage ears, that's for sure. So they put pressure on governments in various countries to support the CCP's Marxist policies. They're wonderful. They're great. We're going to come in and buy a $100 million building that you've been trying to sell for 10 years. They're wonderful. We're going to donate money to your community. We're going to come into Detroit. We're going to buy up whole city blocks that were burned out by riots, and we're going to turn them into a beautiful China city. Yes, the United Front has been pressuring Marxist Tom Perez's Socialist Democrat Party to support and benefit Communist China's economic war on the United States. Oh, yeah, it's an economic war. The Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, requires the United Front to enforce its policies on a national level within countries, coordinating, directing their propaganda campaigns to move a nation to socialism. Why? Because we're the ones with the money. They want the money. They want the assets that we have. They want the warm weather ports. They want our wheat fields. They want our iron mines. They want our steel factories. They want our NASA, our JPL. They want our missile technology, all of it. But since President Trump's election, the CCP has been working against him. They are his enemy because they are our enemy. They're trying to change his national policies on the imbalance of trade and to project their power to influence the United States public opinion, especially on U.S. college campuses, through what is called the Confucius Institute. You've heard this, yes? I'm looking in the chat room. The Confucius Institute, you know, like Confucius say, man with short cane makes most progress on hill. The Confucius Institute, staffed by communist Chinese nationals, all of them, they've had a long-standing tie with the United Front. The Confucius Institute was first established in the U.S. at the University of Maryland in 2004, supposedly to promote Chinese culture, and the Confucius Institute has since been established at 81 U.S. universities. Count them, 81 universities. Your child probably goes to one. The true purpose of the Confucius Institute is to mold the thinking, to shape the minds, and indoctrinate students and faculty members with a positive image of the CCP. The Confucius Institutes are very dangerous, subversive, fifth column people that have been indoctrinating students and college professors in communism since well before 2004. Their goal has always been to undermine the government of the United States, to destroy the free enterprise system. That's, by the way, your pursuit of happiness. And to change the U.S. constitutional republic to a socialist state. That's why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez exists. Her entire campaign was paid for with this money. All her speeches, all her talking points, even her makeup probably comes from the CCP. Same thing with Rashida Tlaib. Same thing with Ariana Presley. Same thing with Ilhan Omar. All of it. Okay? I'm just telling you, open your eyes. Over 100,000 of those former and current college students who had been indoctrinated in communism over the last 16 years, guess where they've been? They've been rioting in the streets in support of the Marxist-led mobs, looting, burning, beating, shooting cops, shooting people, and attacking everything in sight. Did you see the pictures of Minnesota? Did you see after the riot? Block after block after block, it looks like it was hit with a bomb. It looks like Reaper drones went in there and just tore the crap out of the place. I'm telling you, serious stuff. These people are at war with us, and we're doing it. They're fighting us right now. Former CIA operations officer Charlie Sam Faddis, he wrote an article recently. It's called The United Front, How China Co-opted the U.S. Media, which can be read by clicking on this link, and I've got it in here, andmagazine.com, andmagazine.com. The article outlines Communist China's initiatives to take control of the U.S. mainstream media establishment. Well, hello, I think they've kind of done it. Charlie Faddis explains how the Chinese Communist Party put pressure on the U.S. mainstream media. We now call them the fake stream news. The New York Times, Washington Post, Bloomberg, ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, we call them MSDNC, to get them to promote and support the CCP policies that are detrimental to the United States and President Trump. President Trump has the right enemies. For the first time in U.S. history, American Democrat leaders of the U.S. Congress and the left of center liberal mainstream media establishment have been colluding with the CCP to support the revolution in the streets of America, while the left of center liberal mainstream media establishment has been suppressing reports of the violent riots, peaceful protesters, and anarchy, which is nothing more than college students out there just expressing their free rights in 184 cities, and have been colluding with the communist country to defeat a president of the United States. Okay? It's real. It's here. And we're at war. So, let's see here. There's definitely a line in the sand that's being drawn. Many of those publicly publicity directives to support the CCP policies, they've been very destructive to the United States. They have been. They've damaged the lives of you and have been subverting the Bill of Rights. First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, 10th Amendment. The CCP is in collusion with the Socialist Democrat Party. They're in collusion with Pelosi, with Schumer, with the mainstream media, and they're going to continue to collude in their treasonous effort, and I'm going to call it treason. I know the Department of Justice has been talking about charging people with sedition, acts of sedition that are out there rioting, but I have yet to see it. I hear bark, 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 and nothing is happening. Bark, 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 and nothing is happening. Yes, you can say, oh, but the human traffickers, they're being arrested. Yes, I read all that. I see all that. Window dressing. It's window dressing. I still say all of the people in that January 6, 2017 Oval Office meeting need to be in prison. All of them. Rice, Brennan, Comey, all of them. They need to be in prison. Then you can go to Strzok. Then you can go to McCabe. Then you can go to the others. But let's get those people in that meeting first. Yes, Avro is correct. Avro Lancaster in the chat room says, and charm of favor marches on. Absolutely. You know, charm of favor 2 months ago actually got into the top 10 on Amazon again. It's been there like 12 times in 2.5 years. It's incredible. And we're going to try and do it again. I've been talking with Red Pill 78 about going back on his program. We talked about charm of favor last time. We're going to talk about inner earth stuff and all kinds of physics this time, but it's going to be very interesting. And hopefully we'll get some book sales back up again. Malaysia is considered a second home to China rich. I don't remember where. I don't remember where it said they all sold their properties and moved back to China. Really? Bonnie Kinsey in the chat room. Very interesting. They sold their properties and moved back to China. Why do you think that is? I mean, I'll look for an answer in the chat room, but I'm thinking maybe that they don't want to be in Malaysia because Malaysia is going to be attacked, and I don't think they want to live there. I think they want to live back in China. But there's other things going on, you know, that you need to pay attention to because it's not all peaches and cream over there. You know, as I said, there's a line in the sand here, and it's not just being drawn in this country. It's being drawn all around the world. Take a look. Take a look. Because what you see revolts everywhere. In France, in Germany, Poland, in Venezuela, in Mexico, in some places in Canada, all over the United States, some places even in Asia, Hong Kong, other places. You know what the revolts are over? You know why we call this the voice of the revolution here at America Free Radio? Because they're revolting against the globalists. They're revolting against the global syndicate. The CCP is just the military arm of the global syndicate. That'll give you an idea how big they are. The Democrat Party, the political arm, absolutely. The CCP, the military arm, no doubt about it. Then you have the banksters, they're the financial arm. The World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the UN, they're all involved in it. Yeah, we are the enemy, absolutely. We're the enemy because we're the ones standing between them and you. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods. And it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. That's Thomas Paine, 1776. You've seen the memes out there, right? The hands on the clock at 10 and 2. Some people have said, well, it means October 2nd, October 2nd. Maybe it was the COVID infection of the president. I don't know, maybe. You know what I think it is? It's 10/10. It's October 10th. Well, right now it's October 4th. Yeah, that means next Saturday, when we're live here on the webinar for my life coaching, the manifestation class, that's October 10th. Maybe it's where you need to be, because something's going to happen. They don't call them October surprises for nothing. And I can tell you right now, I can guarantee you, as God is my witness, the global syndicate's not going to surrender. That's the only time war is over, is when the enemy surrenders. They're not going to surrender. Yes, they may be on their back. They may be backed against the wall. They may be backed into a corner. But you heard Nancy Pelosi, did you not? We have lots of arrows in our quiver. Everything's on the table, she said. All assets, all hands on deck. Everything we can do, including the bomb. Yeah. Everything. Every form of violence, every form of detestable, vile deceit is on the table. As violent protesters have begun to diminish for the time being in areas such as Portland, it's time to reflect upon exactly who is perpetrating the street violence in Portland and other places. Not only who these people are, and we'll get to that in a second, but what is the trigger that is inciting these people to violence? One key facilitator is intuitively obvious. It's the mask. It's the mask. Anonymity gives a sense of boldness to lash out and behave in aggressive ways. And you've seen it, haven't you? Every video that's out there has the same two symptoms. One of them you can see, and one of them, praise God, you can't see. One of them is the rage behind the mask. Oh, they want to make sure that mask is in place so you don't know who they are. So they won't lose their job because they're part of a movement, right? The rage. And it's the same. Whether it's screaming out of the face of a young female or whether it's blasting out of the face of a man. It's the same rage. It's the same demonic possession. The other symptom, which I can guarantee is universal for every one of these people, is a terribly inflamed rectum. Yeah, they got a bad case of the red ass. You know why? Because they're butt hurt. They are butt hurt. They have been spanked and sent into the street to scream at somebody. The original psychological study that established this proclivity was the famous Stanford study way back in 1971. This study in many ways established the social phenom of mirrored sunglasses. You remember those where you couldn't see the eyes? Because a lot of people, you know, if they lack integrity, they won't look you in the eye. They'll look away. They'll look away because they don't want you to look at them in the eye. You know why? Because then you can see them. They're afraid. They're naked. They're standing there naked in front of you with their rage. But the study in many ways established the social phenom because of this mirrored sunglasses. It blocked you from seeing their eyes. Now, the takeaway from the study was that anonymity in many ways encourages behavior that most people would not normally carry out. Updated studies in 2010 validated it. Yep. The association of an anonymity with aggressive and unkind acts, and frankly, the beginnings of violent acts focused on self-gratification. Yeah. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away. There's much more to go.
From the dawn of man, we have turned to nature to help attain balance within ourselves. But somewhere, we lost our way. Western is once again remembering the healing benefits of CBD, the non-psychoactive component of the hemp plant. That's why more and more people who use CBD report relief in chronic pain, balanced blood sugar and cardiovascular system, relief from muscle tensions, tremors, migraines, headaches, anxiety, depression, and the list goes on. The big question is, where do you get it? iLife is a 99% pure CBD oil made with all organic ingredients, and it's available to TFR listeners worldwide. If you use coupon code TFR at checkout, you'll get $5 towards your order. Head on over to iLife.com now. That's AYA life.com.
This is iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio makes you want to move. When you have a great melody, a song will last forever.
Instant connected.
I love it when the beat goes.
Did you know you can listen to Truth Frequency Radio on iHeartRadio? Just download the app to your smart car, smartphone, or smart TV and get the best of TFR wherever you are.
iHeartRadio.
I'll see you there.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best of streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
For millennia, mankind has been searching for answers to the big questions, such as, where did the universe come from? Where did we come from? Why are we here? Are we alone? And just what the heck is the Sasquatch all about? I can't promise you answers, and neither can the Woo Crew, but they invite you to join them Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, midnight in the UK, for Freaky Friday, exclusively on Truth Frequency Radio. Spirituality, multiverse, quantum mechanics, the occult, and so much conspiracy analysis that it will make your mind melt. Take my word for it. Freaky Friday. It's more than a show. It's a way of life. I am Stephen Hawking, and I am proud to be a Wookiee.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR, your protection from deception.
Hey, good to see you here. Glad you're back. Final session with America Free Radio for today. This we're live every Wednesday and every Sunday at 8 p.m. And even though we have about 10,000 subscribers, we only have about 100 or so live listeners on YouTube, and that concerns me a little bit. I'm wondering what's going on out there, whether they're not turning their notifications on or whether we're being suppressed or what the deal is, because there should be about 2,000 people watching us right now, and that's not happening. It takes about a week for the 2,000 people to come in. This is a great time slot, Sunday night. Nothing else is going on. I'm not competing with anything, maybe football, and who cares that about football. But we're also on Facebook and Periscope and Twitch. There are people watching on Twitch right now. There are 3 people, by the way. Thank you so much for being out there. I wish I could see you out there. Let's see. Maybe I can do this. Let me see if I can go to my Twitch account. Maybe I can see the people that are in there chatting, and maybe I can respond. It's probably going to get a little bit of audio feedback here, so I'm probably going to have to shut it off. But no, let's see. Hang on a second. Now, I don't really know how to do it. Let's see. Channel. There we go. Let's see what happens. I'll have to turn the audio off. There we go. All the way off. So I should be able to see the chatters in there. Okay, great. So I'm watching you guys now in Twitch. So I'll try my best to respond to that chat as well. I'm so glad that you're there because it helps us breach. So I should be able to. Yeah, great. See, there we go. All right, now I've turned the sound off, so there was a little bit of feedback there, but we've got it. All right, this is good. This is good. So I have a lot of stuff going on now on my screen. Hopefully I'm not compromising my bandwidth. You'll let me know, right? You'll let me know if I start compromising the bandwidth. I'll shut Twitch off. But there are 3 people in Twitch watching right now. A couple of people on Facebook. Nobody's in Twitter. I don't know why. I have gazillions, 5,000 followers in Twitter, and no one's out there watching. And the reason is not me, okay? I do everything I can do. I spend $300 a month or more on promoting this program out there in social media. The issue is, sorry to say, you. Because you're the ones that determine whether this program grows or not. If you don't share it with your friends, you don't tell your friends about it, you don't tell your neighbors about it, you don't send it out in your emails to people, you don't sign up for our newsletter and share our newsletter with people, then it can't grow. It can't do it without you. You're the people that make it grow. Who else is going to make it grow but you? Only you. Only you. And that's why I love you. That's why I'm here every single week, because I see you out there. I can see you talking between one another here in the chat room, and I'm with you. And I'll John O'Neill says, I stand with Trump and the Patriots. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we are here. And Stoker, good to see you out there. Andrew Hall, good to see you out there. Yes, I am well. I am very well. No problem. I am the cure. Not sick. Everything's great. I go to work from 4:30. I get home at about 10 minutes of 7, jump on the air at 7, get off at 10, and I do that 5 days a week. So I have a break on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, and Friday nights, of course, are mine. And yes, I did go get some 2-wheel meditation today on my motorcycle, so thank you very much. Yeah, John, that's a good point. He says, I don't get your notifications, even though I have requested to get all notifications. Well, they come in your email. That's the only way that I know that they come to people. That's the only way I can get on. The only way that I see this, that you guys are doing here in the chat room, is I answer my own notification in the email. Yeah, it's crazy. YouTube is a mess. We're witnessing a prophecy. How can we affect the future? Susie, that's a great question, and we are affecting the future. Everything we do will eventually affect the future. So let's do it on purpose. You want to learn more how to do that? Hang around, because we're going to do it. All right. In a first in modern history, I think it's never happened before. We've had it regionally, we've had it nationally, we've had it tribally. We've never had an entire populace face each other, masked up Never happened. Never happened before. It's a total psychological boil that needs to be lanced. This is the first step toward chaos on the American street. Some didn't realize the unintended consequences, and some did. We did. I talked about it right here. I saw this comic and a meme, and I thought, wow, talk about something that is so profound. It's a king, and he's standing on the ramparts of his castle with a couple of his knights, and they're watching a riot down below. And the knight is reporting the status of the situation. He said, we cannot make everybody wear the mask. And the king said, you don't have to. All you have to do is tell the people that are wearing the masks that the people that are not wearing masks are trying to kill them. Yeah. And that's how I'm looked at when I go to the local grocery store. I grab my cart from the kid that has the mask, and I don't have one. I'm not wearing one. And I go walking down the aisles and putting my stuff in. I'm socially staying away from other people. I've got the anti-social distancing down, but I'm not wearing a mask. And I have people look at me. But, you know, I'm a big guy. Yeah, I weigh over 0.1 metric tons. And it ain't flab. And no one's messing with me. And they don't say anything to me, but they want to. I can hear it. I can read their minds. I can read their minds. If I was young, they'd probably say something to me, but I'm old. So they go, it's no problem. He's going to get sick and die anyway. He's an old guy. He's in the vulnerable age. They don't know I've already had it and kicked its ass, and now I'm immune. I should have it stamped on my forehead. Then they would know. But they wouldn't believe me, would they? I'd have to have the chip. I'm not doing that either. Well, the next combustible element put in the pile, seemingly, of course, was the George Floyd death. It was only a matter of time. We just waited for it. It was already spoken about. We need a black man to die on TV, and that's exactly what they had. So to get to the core of this anger, to this rage that we see in all of these people that are possessed, everywhere you go, it's such a rage, this anger. You have to understand the driving tenets of the psychology of those masked purveyors. The rainstorm of gibberish that they are spewing can be boiled down to two things. So simple. And once I tell you this, you're going to slap yourself in the forehead and go, I got it. I got it. The first is grievance, and the second is narcissism. The grievance is driven by one of the oldest and most dangerous emotions in the universe. It is so powerful that even gods fall when they succumb to it. And that is envy. It's envy. I'm driving a 10-year-old pickup truck and you're driving a brand new pickup truck. You're 10 years younger than I am. How can that be? That's a grievance. You live in a 3,000 square foot house in a gated community with a pool, and I live in an apartment, and you're younger than I am. How can that be? That's a grievance. That's the envy that builds up. It is that way throughout history. Every single society that we look at, we see this motif of the eldest son and the youngest son, Esau and Jacob, Nephi and Laman. It goes on and on and on all the way through every single recorded record. The oldest son is somehow cheated out of his inheritance by the youngest son. But the youngest son is the one who follows his father's guidance, who works hard, goes to sleep at night, doesn't go out and carouse and get drunk at night and have babies out of wedlock and wake up drunk at 2:00 in the afternoon the next day and say, hey, where's my free lunch? No, the son gets up at the crack of dawn, works the fields, works the herds, takes care of his family, does what he's supposed to do, earns the inheritance. But then the grievance. And the narcissism. That's what I'm talking about. And where did they get this gibberish that they spout? On and on and on. Black Lives Matter bull crap. This often idolized but rarely understood character called Marx. Marx was a sloven, slothful, vulgar, sloppy scatterbrain who shook down rich friends for support while his family lived in abject poverty and filth. He thought big thoughts of grievance and narcissism while his family starved. The essence of his thought is this: it's always someone else's fault. That's the grievance. That's the envy. And they need to hand over their wealth to support me. That's the narcissism. All you got to do is reread Cleon Skousen's classic, okay? I've got it on my shelf behind me, The Naked Communist. He was one of my professors in college. Very smart guy, very good speaker, very great family man. He's one of the best speakers I ever heard. And he wrote this amazing book called The Naked Communist. And you can understand this toxic and cancerous thought pattern. This is the same thought pattern that created the corrosive and destructive 1619 Project that is an updated version of Marx's thoughts. It is why President Trump came out and wrote an executive order banning the critical race theory that he was criticized for in the debates. In conducting the forensics of our current social unrest, we have masks, and we combine them with this grievance and narcissism. It's the perfect storm, Earth Explorers. Now, all the purveyors of hate and discontent are hidden behind a mask. All they need are the organization and structure to channel their hate and the discontent. And it was handed to them by the mainstream media. Having the organizational infrastructure in place, unionized kindergarten through 12th grade teachers and staff are the perfect societal organized group to take the combination of masks, grievance, and narcissism and operationalize it as the shock troops for taking down the American constitutional system. And that's what you're witnessing. On July 4th, when I put out my video where I burned my mask, I told you about 2 generations of students that have been indoctrinated in our educational system, so much so they don't even know what America means. They don't even know what freedom is. All they know to do is follow orders and turn on the hatred. Rick Moran identified this in his 2017 piece. It's entitled Dozens of Public School Teachers Involved in Antifa. It was a clarion call that something was going wrong. Something was very wrong. The arrest reports from around the country have shown a high number of, guess what? K through 12 teachers and administrators. Oftentimes, arrests from Portland have reflected numbers north of 50%. Andy Ngo and others have done an excellent job of documenting this connection, often at great personal risk. The street thugs of Antifa and BLM seem to lose their bravery once the mask comes off and they are exposed. Oh, they get really pissed when they get handcuffed and get their mask taken off and get photographed. Now, we all have the ingredients: masks, grievance, narcissism. You need to feed me. Your stuff belongs to me. And I have 200 years of oppression that we need to make up for. Organization and structure. Now, all that is needed is some funding and some encouragement. And along comes the CCP. Under great pressure with a collapsing economy, rising pushback against the Belt and Road initiatives, and an American president who has run over their plans like a freaking bulldozer, has seized upon this opportunity to destabilize America for revenge. The war is on. It's now a race to see who can collapse whose country first. Been there, done that. Chinese agents have been handing out walking around money, the old school term that American CIA clandestine operators used to say with great operational effect in many foreign countries, walking around money. We'll pay you to go disrupt, pay you to go throw a Molotov cocktail, pay you to piss in the well. The CCP learned from us and funded the riots of 2020. TikTok enabled the tailored channeling and delivery of grievance and narcissism on a vast scale. The Chinese consulate in Houston shut down, in particular for diplomatic officials being identified as enabling street violence. The FBI director and attorney general have now made China job number one. The conduit of Chinese communist money has been using the historical path of China and Hong Kong financial transactions to party officials and family members in Vancouver, BC, right over there, and then converting the wired funds into cash to be snuck into the U.S. for several purposes, such as real estate acquisitions. Why do you think the real estate market is so hot right now? Yes, interest rates are low. But it's not just interest rates that have to be low. There's one thing you got to have. You got to have a downstroke. Don't nobody buy no houses with no downstroke, baby. You got to have a down payment. 10%. You want to buy a $200,000 house? It's $20,000. You want to buy a $2 million commercial building that's been vacant for 5 years? $200,000. Cash. You want to buy a $50 million skyscraper that's been 70% vacant for a decade? Got to have cash. The CCP funding has been carried over the border into the United States as the walking around money. And they're paying Antifa and BLM leaders and street agitators $250 for smashing windows for the night when the police let me go immediately with no charges. The positive return on investment? Absolutely clear and irrefutable, especially when the masks are worn. No one's going to know who you are, even if you're photographed, even if you're videotaped. You can smash and you don't have to grab nothing because your cash is in your pocket. Like forensics done on a fire. The chain of events and combination of combustible elements are clear. Masks, grievance, narcissism, school teachers, staff, social workers, and such. Foreign funding and meddling by the CCP in our election this year. The violence has little to do with George Floyd, nothing to do with George Floyd. It is an insatiable manifestation of grievance and narcissism that's never going to be satisfied. It's like zombies. And the answer is, you have to do this. You have to reject the thesis of their argument. You must. Do not quibble. Do not try to rationalize with the mob. Reject their thesis and aggressively deal with them. Both the citizens and all levels of government must lock shoulders and stand against this rage of the street mobbery. Once specific personalities are personally held liability for the death and destruction they create, the violence will rapidly go away. 2 cops were shot in their car. 1 guy is arrested. A person is shot and killed on the streets as an assassination, an actual targeted assassination. He was a Trump supporter. He was wearing a hat. Prayers for Trump or prayers for the United States or something, a prayer group. Shot and killed, targeted, just like that. Everybody on the streets that night wearing a mask and conducting violence who was arrested is an accessory to murder. That's how you deal with it. William Barr had the right idea by saying that he was going to start taking these violent rioters and trying them under sedition acts. But he didn't do it. He just said he was going to do it. This is not just the masked actors. This also includes the state and local leaders and the politicians that act in a feckless, hapless manner. Mayors, police chiefs, governors, they all need to be arrested. Remember the goal of the CCP. They want America. They don't want you. They could give a rat's ass about you. They don't want to manage you. They don't want to control you. They don't want to own you. They want your house. They want your car. They want your factory building. They want your roads. They want your schools and hospitals. They want your rockets. They want your lakes and rivers. They want your farms and your mountains and your lumber. They don't want you. International communism stood for, number one, the overthrow of capitalism. Number two, the abolition of private property. You better be prepared to give it up. And the third is the elimination of the family as a social unit, and that was on their website up until this week when we brought attention to it. The abolition of all classes, the overthrow of all governments, state governments as well, the establishment of a communist order with the communal ownership of property in a classless, stateless society. There won't be no Oklahoma anymore. There won't be any Florida, no California, no Arizona. There won't be any New York. There'll be dotted lines, and managers will step in and manage these regions. And they will begin doing what they have always done, stripping out the raw materials to build their empire. And if you stand in their way, you're going to fertilize the trees. Take, for example, the problems of government. Marx and Engels, we talked about them here. Go back and listen. They would solve these problems by working for the day when they could eliminate government. Problems of morals would be solved by doing away with morals. Problems growing out of a religion would be solved by doing away with the religion. Problems of marriage, home, family, eliminated. Do away with them. No more marriage, no more home, no more family. It's all state assets, children of the state. The problems arising out of property rights, we don't need those anymore. We just take away the property rights. What would you say if I told you that the CCP has been funding the riots in America? What would you say to paramilitary command language in Mandarin recorded by cell phone video in the riots in Portland, Minnesota and Seattle? What would you say to millions of dollars being pumped into Democrat campaigns all over America? We already know that Dianne Feinstein's personal driver for 20 years was an undercover Chinese spy. New developments revealed the breadth and the depth of the Chinese Communist Party's war against us. Last week, federal authorities charged a New York City police officer with being a paid agent of the CCP for 6 years. The indictment says handlers in the Chinese consulate had Officer Betamaji Angwang, a nationalized U.S. citizen, keeping tabs on Tibetans living in New York. He was being directed by the China Association for the Preservation and Development of Tibetan Culture. This goes on and on and on. And the sooner we face it, and the sooner we take action against it, the sooner we can be free. What we need to do is take care of ourselves. Make sure you have food, make sure you have water, and make sure not to wear a mask unless your employer requires it. And watch for the rage. If you see people suffering from this rage, love them, okay? Convince them to take the mask off and smile. Please Go out and look for the good in others and help it to grow a little bit every day. Everyone, even the person at the minute mark where you get your gas, look him in the eye. Build a relationship with him day after day. Smile, say hi. Wish him well on his weekend because he probably has Wednesday and Thursday off while you get Saturday and Sunday. This is Brooks Agnew with America Free Radio saying, peace, Earth Explorers. Where we go one, we go all.